Can I have you say hi, I'm Lauren Daigle, and then I'll ask the questions.
Okay, perfect. Hey, I'm Lauren Daigle.
And to you, who is God?
I would say right now what I'm trying to do is learn about the nature of God, the character of God. And one of the things that I've always longed for is that friendship. I was talking with one of my friends the other day about how God is so many things that are beyond what we're capable of understanding. So I've always looked at God as a friend, and then He took me on a journey where I came to know Him as a father. And I was talking to her about the difference between viewing Him from a disciplinarian sense to a sense of like, oh, I could joke around with Him and we could have fun together, or, you know. So who God is to me is infinite. I mean, He can show up in the most intimate of ways and show a different side of Himself every single time. So, yeah.
Now, can you give a testimony about how and when you came to know the Lord and accepted salvation?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 7 years old, hey, you can come in here. When I was 7 years old, is when I was baptized and accepted Christ. But whenever I was 15 is when I really came to know God. God always walked with me. He always, the spirit that was inside of me, even if I didn't recognize it, it was always there, And looking back on my life, I realized, wow, that was God's sovereignty, that was God's provision, that was, I could always see the fingerprints of God throughout my life. But when I acknowledged those fingerprints and decided to sit with them and talk with Him and know more of Him, when He made Himself ultra present in my life was when I was 15. I was diagnosed with an illness called cytomegalovirus, and I just spent all day long with Him. I mean, I was placed on homebound, so I would dream constantly, and I just thought I was living out some American dream mindset, oh, we need to strive for success and all of this. And I would constantly wonder, like, God, is this You speaking to me, or is this my voice? And through time, I was on homebound for 2 years. Through time, He started showing me, no, this is my voice. And He would open certain doors, and I'd walk through them. But it really came from that solitude, like being in constant solitude with Him. And 2 years at home, and I'd wake up with my feet on the floor, and here's the first thing that I would go to. I would just get on my face. And then before going to bed, I would just get on my face. And throughout the day, I'd read devotionals or read His Word. And I would write devotionals at 15 years old. And it's just such a beautiful journey of getting to walk with Him. So I could say that was one of the moments where I recognized the journey and continued on the road with Him. But that's not to say that the road hadn't started way back here when I was a little girl.
How do you believe, or how important do you believe the Bible is?
I believe the Bible is God's spoken holy word. So I view the Bible as a conversation with Him, which is ultimately really important. It's like, okay, if I want to know who God is, if I want to talk with Him today, what are one of the ways that I could do that? Just open His Word and see it right there. Like, He has the beauty of making His conversation and His words physical on paper. So I view it as incredibly important. I think it's the living Word, so it speaks differently in different moments. I can read one verse at one point in my life and it mean this because God speaks to me that way through it at that time. And 5 years later, I could read the same exact verse and it means something completely different because God chooses to speak differently in that time. So, yeah, I see it as vital importance for the Christian walk. That's not to diminish the power of the Holy Spirit, though, because I think the Holy Spirit is incredibly important as well. And I think the two of them together is the sustenance of the human walk.
And final question, how do you go about implementing God into your daily life and to the life of others?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a pure smile is a moment with God. When you look into the face of someone else and you offer a pure smile, or they offer you a pure smile. I think that's a way to be with God, because all things that are good come from above, and a pure smile is a good thing. I think that a handshake, someone once told me never underestimate the power of the Holy Spirit through a handshake. The Lord is teaching me how not to strive for His presence. And I'm a perfectionist, which is, He's slowly unraveling that. Excellence and perfectionism are two very different things. And so I think being a perfectionist, that means I have to, at this moment of every day, sit down, read my word, make sure it's done, very calculated. And God is like, He totally loves us sitting with Him in His word. He loves me sitting with Him in the word, but when it's so calculated and mundane that the Spirit is squelched, that's a dangerous territory. So He's teaching me different ways to spend time with Him and experience Him all throughout my day, not just when I'm in a mindset, but His grace and His power all throughout the day, to where I'm really journeying with Him and walking with Him at all times, not just when I'm sitting down in a moment of silence. He's found in the quiet, but He's also found in the noise. And that's the beauty of Christ, that He can change our perspective of what it means to be with Him. So I think on my daily routine with Him is, sometimes it's sitting in the Word, sometimes it's sitting with His song, sometimes it's walking, sometimes it's being frustrated and annoyed and angry. And I find Him in those moments just as if I'm happy and joyful and being silly, He's the constant. So, yeah, it changes every day.